On y'all, and welcome back to another Geeky Gecko Creations live stream. So I had this cool idea today. I always get these things that pop up on my feed, or sometimes people give me ideas for a topic to talk about, and that's good to kind of guide you through the live stream. So this idea came to mind today where why don't I talk about this? Because this popped up on my stream today, and then I could also take notes of other things that pop up, reptile related, and we can talk about them. Also, I thought about doing this as a recording, but if I do this live, it gives me a chance to get feedback from other people that might know more on the topic. So, as far as I can tell, this just came out today, Monday, April 29th, 2024. This article was published. It's about a neon green fluorescence that enables certain gecko species to see one another. Scientists dazzled by UAE's glow-in-the-dark geckos. How cool is that? Mr. Wizard, thank you. RDN Kenki, thank you. If you don't know what the UAE is, it's the United Arab Emirates. And I would say the most popular probably country that's part of that is Dubai. A lot of people know Dubai. So give me a thumbs up if sound check sounds good. I wanted to, it's not a super long article, but I wanted to read through the article together, comment on what I see is being proclaimed in the article, and then you guys can give me feedback on what you see or related topics to this article. And if you happen to know any more about this particular topic of glow in the dark geckos. So prior to this, I can't remember any geckos or any reptiles actually being glow in the dark. Scorpions, jellyfish, axolotls, which were infused with jellyfish glow in the dark DNA, have been glow in the dark, but not reptiles. So let's take a look. First, let's look at all the pictures. Scientists have shed light on UAE desert geckos that glow in the dark. This photo is by Dr. Bernat Burial Carranza, and the link to this article is, whoops, sorry, something just happened there. The link to this article is actually on the YouTube live in the description. So if you want to look at this article for yourself. So let's take a look at this. Picture one. Okay. Let's actually take myself off camera real quick. So let me know if you guys can still hear me when I take my picture off the screen, because sometimes this app functions funny. So Yvette, what's going on? So I'm going to take myself off the screen. Let me know if you can still hear me. Oh, okay. You can't hear me when I take my picture off. Thank you. Then for now, I will just leave my picture on. So glow in the dark gecko, photo number one. Look, the eyes are glowing in the dark. Underneath the chin, the belly, and some speckles on the back, as well as a little bit on the legs. And I don't know if they're actually using a black light to blacklight this gecko, but we'll find out in the article. Here's another picture, very glowing around the eyes. Now, I would actually say if a predator could see this, this is a pretty bad evolutionary design if a predator can see this. So we're going to read the article and we'll see. Maybe this is only visible to a certain like refraction in the gecko's eyes and the way that they perceive light. I don't know, but look at this. Very glowy. Let's see if it looks like a boy. It looks like a boy. It looks like some hemipenes down there. This is a pretty cool photo. This is the thumbnail I decided to use, and I flipped it horizontally. And here is a picture of the gecko not glowing in the dark, or I should probably say like this is a flash. So in normal light, obviously you're not going to see that glow. And then I almost used this as the cover photo because look how cool this looks. Pretty cool photo. So, all right. And this is the last picture. Little skinny. You know, it's funny. Certain species of geckos are naturally a little bit more skinny, and especially wild type geckos. So we would look at that and be like, dang, that boy's got parasites or something. But maybe that's just the natural skinniness that this gecko has, right? Sometimes they could also flatten themselves out and make themselves wider, similar to what bearded dragons do when they're drinking or when they feel threatened. So is all good. You guys can still hear me now, right? Um, Scientists have for the first time. Okay, so this is the first time that a reptile or this specific gecko is being discovered. Um, they have discovered for the first time shed light on the illuminating ability of the UAE's desert dwelling geckos to glow in the dark. Okay, let's see how they glow in the dark. 3 nocturnal species. Okay, so different species here of the diminutive lizard. Diminutive. I need to look that word up real quick. Hold on. Diminutive. Extremely or unusually small. Okay, so there we go. You guys can hear me? We all good? I just want to make sure that you can hear me while I'm reading and doing all this research and whatnot. So 3 nocturnal species of the small lizard, all common in sandy areas of the region, were found to have prominent, thank you, Mr. Wizard, skin fluorescence, only previously seen in geckos in the sprawling Namib Desert of Africa. Okay, so this is not the first time that glowing geckos have been discovered, but it's the first time it's discovered in the UAE. And there's the whole theory, obviously, of Pangea. So, not Pangea. Wait, is it Pangea? Pangea continental drift. So, there's the whole theory that all the landmass was one in the past. Africa, South America, Antarctica all fits in. And so if you have a species that was in one area of Pangea before it broke up, it could have spread to the other areas before it broke up. So this gecko is so glowing. I'm going to put my shades on. Researchers made the dazzling discovery during a field trip to a desert area of Sharjah in June 2022. Okay, so this is not new, but it is new publication, I guess. Subsequently observed in the AIULA in Saudi Arabia in April of last year, Nizwa, Oman in May of 2023, and Sharjah for a second time in June. So it's all relatively new. The fluorescence is thought to enable the reptiles to see members of the same species, which may help the creatures mate with one another. That's very true. If you watched our most recent leopard gecko video, which was reporting on, let's take a look at that real quick. There was a leopard gecko video that we did as a reaction to, here we go. Should we cohab our leopard geckos? Watch that video. We talk about in that video what Levi is going through in his video, talking about how leopard geckos perceive the reflection of light differently based on the color of other leopard geckos. And that can help them determine if another leopard gecko is a threat, male, female, whether it's ready to breed. There's all kinds of things we probably don't know, but specifically in this species, we're talking about glowing in the dark. It may help them mate with one another. And if you guys have any more information than I am currently privy to right now, feel free to drop it in the comments and we can look into it together, or I can mention it on stream. So it was an extremely bright neon green coloration, similar to the one that had already been reported in the Namibian desert geckos. Once we saw that was happening in other expeditions, we were trying to focus on this and to find these specimens. Light up the night, little skinny gecko. A dune sand gecko spotted by researchers Photo credit to Johannes Els. Bright fluorescence, often around the eye and on the flanks, which is the sides, was seen in two species. The dune sand gecko. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. No, I am actually. Stenodactylus. That is a cool genus right there. Stenodactylus dorii. That's how I think maybe that would be said. Stenodactylus dorii and the Arabian web-footed sand gecko. Trigonodactylus arabiscus. Man, those are cool names. Both of which inhabit very sandy environments with little vegetation. Kind of looks like a knobtail gecko a little bit, like a big old head, small body, and they like the sand. The eastern sand gecko, Stenodactylus leptocosymbotes, also showed fluorescence. However, that's what that word albeit means. Thanks, Mr. Wizard. Sounds pretty correct. I appreciate it. Albeit, that word always confused me until I started reading the King James Bible, and the King James Bible uses that word. I believe that's where I first learned that word. Albeit, meaning forever. However, less prominently around its eyes and on its flanks, while a fourth species, Slevin's sand gecko, I'm going to say this again because I like this, Stenodactylus slevini, had just a small amount around its eye. Okay, so there's varying levels of glow in the darkness depending on the species. What I want to know is, does it take a black light to see this? I would imagine it would, because then hundreds of years ago, this would have been reported by desert dwelling humans that colonized the desert that, hey, there's a bunch of geckos running around that are glowing in the dark. So that means that the eyeball of a gecko can process in the same way what a black light does when we use a black light. That's amazing. Among the other authors of the study published in the Journal of Arid Environments is Johannes Els. I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but I feel like I've seen that name before. Of the Breeding Center of Endangered Arabian Wildlife, part of the Environment and Protected Areas Authority in Sharjah. The fluorescence can be seen by humans only if a UV lamp is shown on the animals, but is probably visible to geckos without UV. See, they don't even know the answer to this yet. They don't even know if the geckos can actually see what we see with the black light, or maybe they see something else. Maybe it appears to them in a reflective way, but not in the same way that when we shine a black light on it. Illumination, because their eyes detect light outside of the human visible spectrum. Guys, if you don't believe in creationism, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the wildlife kingdom is just so intricately designed. The more that you look into it, the more that you see that pure evolution just cannot be a thing. Okay, I'm open, and I'm certainly happy to have the conversation with people about creationism versus evolution. It's part of why our name is Geeky Gecko Creations, because I believe in creationism. And let's leave it there. We don't have to talk about who created us. But when you look at the complexity of DNA and how information is passed on, information can never be gained in an organism. It can only be lost. And so that means that DNA can lose information in a species, and that can turn into a different species or a subspecies, but we never see a gain of information. So you'll never see a fish turn into a bat, or you'll never see a bat turn into an elephant, because the information is not there to gain that level of that jump, that much of a jump of DNA to make wings turn into a trunk, or to make a trunk turn into fins. Like that, just that information doesn't exist. So that's why we can't observe evolution, but we can observe adaptation. Adaptation is when a species, like a human, has black skin, brown skin, white skin, blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, black hair, blonde hair, red hair, and even albinoism. Even albinism is a loss of information, right? In humans. And so we could see that adaptation in species across the board, but we don't see evolution. We don't see species turning into other species, even on the bacterial level, which is the smallest of levels that we could expect that to be taking place. And we've tried. If you research it, there's been a ton of laboratory scientists that have actually been trying to take the most known variable species of bacteria that changes species and trying to evolve it into another species, and they can't even do it. So anyway, creation is just amazing. The complexity of DNA is amazing. Fluorescence has previously been observed in 6 gecko species, but only one of these, the nocturnal web-footed gecko found in the Namib Desert in Africa, fluoresces from its skin. Okay, so the fluorescence must take place in the other geckos in another way. These animals in the Namib Desert fluorescence around their eyes and on their lower flanks, probably so the creatures can spot one another, allowing them to mate or to lick water that has condensed on each other's bodies. Talk about being useful to each other. A useful way to hydrate in the desert. Very interesting. The nocturnal web-footed gecko's ability to fluoresce is thought to have evolved separately from that of the geckos in Arabia. Okay, so they're basically saying the fluorescence has evolved separately in the geckos in Arabia versus the geckos in Africa, and that they did not come from the same species line, is the way I'm interpreting that. Let me know if that sounds the way that you would read that explanation as well. It seems that this type of mechanism can be very useful to communicate in deserts because they have evolved this fluorescence independently, says Dr. Burial Carranza. Dr. Burial Carranza. Okay, wary of predators. This is kind of what I was hinting at earlier. The underside of a dune sand. That sounds so cool. By the way, if you guys like science fiction, Dune, the second movie, is now out on, I think it's out in theaters, but it's also out on like Paramount and I think like Amazon Prime. You could watch, you could rent it or buy it. So the underside of a dune sand gecko under UV light, photo by Dr. Bernat Burial Carranza, give him credit. That the skin fluorescence is found on the lower parts of the gecko's bodies may be so that it is less visible to potential predators. Okay, but if it's on the underside of their body and they're saying that that's less visible to potential predators, that would also be less visible to potential mates or geckos themselves, right? So in quotes, so this must be Carranza being quoted now. So I'm just going to turn down the air conditioning in my house. It's a little nippy right now. So let's turn that down a little bit. Okay. Predators might also see the UV light. So this is probably why they have it underneath or on their sides only and not on their back, which would make sense because a bird or something looking from above, that would make it easier to see. Although birds have such good eyes, I think they would see it anyway. It would make it a little more difficult. Mr. Wizard, no. It means that it is two completely different species that just evolved two similar things like bats and dolphins echolocation. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so they're not saying that the African gecko is related to the Middle Eastern gecko. They're saying that they evolved that ability separately in their genomes or in their DNA. So okay, we're on the same page there. That's the way that I believe I saw it too. Proof or no proof. Professor Salvador Carranza of the Institute of Evolutionary Biology at CSIC, Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona, the senior author of the study said, there is a compromise between communication and also being attacked by other animals. Sometimes there is a trade-off. If the animals are alarmed, they tend to press themselves against the ground and hide their flanks. Okay, that makes sense, indicating that the geckos are probably aware that these areas are more easily spotted by predators. Sure, I mean, most of nature is aware of their adaptations and attributes, their strengths and weaknesses. I would say most creatures are innately aware of that. Even trees, there's a specific species of tree. Let me see if I could find it. Trees that emit warning pheromones. Pine trees, when preyed on by caterpillars, send out pheromones to attract wasps to the forest, which eat the caterpillars. Acacia trees, when eaten by browsing giraffes, release ethylene gas, which prompts other acacias to flood their leaves with defensive and unappetizing tannins. So, when having the conversation about life and pain and ethics, I find it interesting that the reptile hobby does not consider insects and even vegetation, such as trees, to potentially have feelings of pain when when they can realize when they're being attacked. Like that's the point of pain. The point of pain is to realize that something is wrong and to create a response to protect yourself. So I'm not claiming anything here, but I just find it interesting that insects have the ability to realize when they are attacked, i.e., pain. And even some species of vegetation and trees have the ability to realize when they are attacked, i.e., pain. Yet, we treat insects as if they have no feelings, as if they don't matter. And the same with rats. But that's a whole nother story. Rats are mammals, very smart, very interactive species if you've ever worked with rats, but they are treated as vermin and they are treated as less than insects in our hobby because we feed them to our snakes. So that's a whole nother conversation about ethics that I would be glad to have with anybody in the hobby. But just an interesting topic that kind of relates to species understand when they are being attacked on the plant level, on the insect level, and on the mammal and reptile and exotic level. So with other geckos, the fluorescence comes from the bones. That's interesting. That is interesting. Which show up because the animal's skin is thin and translucent. I was like, thick? What? I just completely misread that. Thin and translucent. It's very clear when you see the bone is fluorescing because you will see, for example, the ulna, the tibia, and specific bone, Dr. Burial Carranza said. Photographs taken as part of the latest study show, in addition to skin fluorescence, bone fluorescence in the tibia of the dune sand gecko. Interesting. So they also have bone fluorescence. L. Dot said stink bugs. That's a perfect example. Stink bugs emit a gaseous thing, right? When they are being attacked. Even mealworms, even mealworm beetles, which is why most leopard geckos, I should knock on wood, I should say most leopard geckos will not eat beetles. Most reptiles will not eat beetles, except the sailfin dragon, because they're from Asia. And we all know that Asian species eat everything. I'm half Asian, so that's kind of an Asian joke because my mom, who's Filipino, they eat fish eggs and fish heads and fish eyes and ducks in the egg. I forget. I think it's called balut or something like that. Like it's like a duck, a non-fully formed duck embryo that they eat. It's crazy. So it's funny that the Asian sailfin dragon would eat beetles, which is something that most of the other reptile species in the world would not eat. And then the Asian species of human beings would also eat things that most of the other species of humans in the world do not eat. It's just an Asian joke that I throw around sometimes. But mealworm beetles or superworm beetles, yeah, most reptiles will not eat those because they emit a stink. And I also think that they are probably not as nutritious once they are in the beetle form compared to the grub or worm form. So, while photographs taken as part of the latest study show, in addition to skin fluorescence, they have bone fluorescence. Okay. Here's another article. So maybe I'll save this article for next time. But let's finish. This article is called The Wonder Gecko. Rare species population falls drastically in the UAE. So if there's topics that you find interesting that you would like for me to talk about, send them to me. My phone number is right here below after my website, but you could email me from my website, or you could text me from my cell phone, which is here, 480-299-7657. Let me know if you find interesting articles that you would like for me to cover, because I'm down. I think it makes a fun time that we could kind of get together for a half hour or an hour every couple of days and talk about these interesting topics that are reptile related. So while not confirmed from tissue studies, the geckos in Arabia that fluoresce from their skin are thought to do so thanks to Iridophores. Oh my gosh, what? I did not know that word was going to come up. But I am getting ready to do a whole nother video review of the lemon frost mutation and all the misconceptions that people have claimed about the lemon frost mutation, which is centered around Iridophores. So Iridophores, I will bring up the exact Iridophore. I'll bring up the exact definition for you guys. It's part of the chromatophore topic, which chromatophores are cells that contain color. Okay, so what is an iridophore? Iridophores are stacks of very thin cells that are capable of reflecting light back at different wavelengths, which is why lemon frosts are so bright in coloration, is because of the abundance of iridophores in their mutation, which gives them the ability to reflect different wavelengths, right here, reflect different wavelengths of color in these stacks of cells. So that'll be another very interesting topic to talk about. RDN Kenki says bullseye. Cool. So iridophores, which are, oh, look, it says it right here. Stacks of cells that give off light. There's a really dialed down way to put it. Professor Carranza said that the species in Arabia that have been found to fluoresce often live in remote desert areas that tend not to be developed. Okay. Are they trying to say that there's no predators there? No, I think they're just trying to say that there's no humans there. They are classified, he said, as being of least concern by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, indicating that they are not threatened, meaning that they're not close to being extinct, which means we might be able to get them imported one day, except we have, yeah, RD and Kenki says no houses, etc. Except we have no trade rights right now, animal-wise, with the Middle Eastern countries, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, which is why we can't get in leopard geckos anymore. Sad face emoji. Let me see if there's a sad face. There's cheer, laugh, gasp, drum. The closest thing to a sad emoji sound is a gasp. So let's try that again. Which is why we can't get in leopard geckos anymore. Yes, very sad. I don't know if you guys could hear that. Can you guys hear that? I'm going to watch this back, so I'll find out. If not, I might need to fix something with the sound, which, by the way, I'm going to wind up most likely getting StreamYard, because if you watch the latest video with Adam Wickens of Wickens Wicked Reptiles, he was having issues on his end with the stream. And so maybe StreamYard would be better than the current software I'm paying for right now. Maybe a European friend could help. If you're hinting at something that I think you're hinting at, then yes, it will most likely make its way into the hobby eventually, first into Europe and Asia, and then America, you know. They are different to the house geckos familiar to many UAE residents, United Arab Emirates, which the Emirates is just a conglomerate of like 6 different countries, I believe. Some of the animals that appear in the paper, they are some of the most common night geckos in the deserts of Arabia. You can find them everywhere from Saudi Arabia to Oman to the UAE, says Professor Carranza said. Updated April 27, 2024 at 8 p.m. Tagged Environmental Wildlife UAE. So that is it for this gecko. Let's take a look one more time at these beautiful photographs. So here's what the gecko would look like in normal lighting. In black lighting, there's the flanks or the sides, but also the dorsal is lit up too, and the top. And the eyes, my goodness, iridophores. Huh. So here is proof, guys. You heard me say it first. Here is proof that iridophores don't need to cause cancer. Let me say that again, in case you don't understand the implications of the connection that I'm making here. This species of gecko has iridophores that do not produce tumors or cancer. Lemon frost has iridophores that produce tumors and cancer in the worst, in super form, when it has 2 copies of the gene. 80% of the time. We're going to cover this. Trust me. I'm not done. I need to correct people on where they went, all the lies that they are promoting about lemon frost. And it does not mean that I am promoting lemon frost. By no means am I saying that people should work with it or breed it. But what I am saying is that all of the people that commented on it saying that iridophores cause cancer, iridophores cause tumors, we're going to find out that in the UCLA study that was proven to be wrong 20% of the time, which is a huge percentage, and also proven to be wrong in other observations that took place in outcrossing the leopard geckos, and proven to be wrong by Dr. Longgang Guo, who was the lead scientist studying the lemon frost matter at UCLA, when he was asked the question, can outcrossing make them better? To which he said yes, about 6 different times in an interview, which I recorded, which we will bring about. But is this the information that you hear from people in the hobby? No. What do they tell you? Lemon frost causes cancer. Well, not really, if you count science and accuracy of data and information to be something worth considering. So let's take this gecko here. This gecko has iridophores, no cancer, no tumors. Lemon frost has iridophores and has tumors 80% of the time in the macularis subspecies, but not the Turkmenicus, fasciolatus, afghanicus, and the other subspecies that were not studied in the UCLA study. So all I'm saying is people have spread a lot of lies, misinformation, and unbacked science and data and misinterpretation of the current data that we have on lemon frost. And we are going to expose and blow all of that out of the water in some up to come videos regarding the lemon frost and iridophores. So this species of gecko, iridophores, no cancer, no tumors. What that tells you as a scientist is that it is possible to have iridophores that affect the gecko in a certain way for color mutation, brightness, glow in the dark, but not cause cancer or tumors. And if we could study why that is taking place in these geckos that come from the Middle Eastern desert, and why that is different in the leopard geckos that come from the Middle Eastern desert, we could splice the DNA differently or possibly create a version of lemon frost that does not express or have a higher likelihood of tumors, and then tumors leading to cancer, which is a separate topic, by the way. A tumor is not cancer. A tumor is a cluster of cells. A mole is a cluster of cells. A mole can become tumorous, and a mole can become cancerous, and a tumor can become cancerous, but a tumor in of itself is not cancer. So another lie that people are spreading around when they say that a tumor is cancer and that lemon frost are cancerous. No, it's not the same thing. And the UCLA study will even show that to you when we go over that study. Mr. Wizard, well, we never really know. It could have evolved a genetic way to combat the cancer that those create, but that's just a thought. Very good thought. A matter of fact, let's applaud that thought. Can you guys hear the clapping like loud, or is it faint? I'll listen to this and I'll be able to know. But you should be able to hear the clapping, hopefully at normal volume. So anyway, very good point that Mr. Wizard brings up is there must be something in the DNA of this particular gecko that makes it so that, oh, thank you, Aaron, makes it so that tumors and cancer does not form when iridophore production is made in the gecko. And it probably has to do with a regulation. There are genes that regulate the production of iridophores in geckos, and that gene is defective in some way in the leopard gecko form. When the iridophore production is made, there is a defect in the production of them, not allowing them to die off, which is why those geckos are so bright, is because these cells are replicating, and not dying off. And then sometimes they cluster in certain areas, causing a tumor. And then in the super lemon frost form, they become cancerous, but not in the regular lemon frost form. They just become tumorous in the regular lemon frost form. So all I'm saying is people should promote data and information accurately and not skew it and lie about it to try to guide you in a certain direction. If you don't want people to be encouraged to try to breed the lemon frost, and you have to lie about it to discourage people, I think that is the wrong way to educate, which is why here at Geeky Gecko Creations, we will always educate openly and honestly, giving you the chance to know the truth and nothing but the truth as we have interpretation and understanding of it, allowing you to make the decision that is right for you. Now, I have never, ever encouraged people to breed lemon frost. So just because some data or information may be true or not true does not mean that I can couple that with an opinion. So have people spread misinformation about the data of lemon frost? Yes. Does that mean that I am encouraging people to breed lemon frost? No. Most people don't have the ability, the time, or the resources to actually understand this genetic and to be able to try to fix it or correct it. So I would by far encourage people not to breed it. It's just going to be more headache, more heartache for you. But does that mean that nobody should breed it or try to understand it or work with it? Also, no. So let's look at in conclusion, the final pictures. Look at the eye of that gecko. Oh, can I zoom in here? Yes. Wait. No. 150, 100. Look at the eye of that gecko. Beautiful, beautiful gecko. Little chubby belly there, skinny bones. Here's the cover photo that I wound up using. More fluorescence under a black light. And beautiful shot right here of the eyes underneath the jaw. Geckos are lower to the ground than most of their predators, I would imagine, which is why most of the luminescence, I don't know if I'm saying that word correctly, is underneath the fluorescence. That's what I meant to say. And another cool picture. Let's hide that. Now, should just be me now on full screen. You guys should be able to hear me. My room is very messy, but you can see some of my computer, which is pretty cool. My new streaming computer, which we use for games and streams and all kinds of stuff. But what did you guys think about this type of live stream? It's pretty cool, right? I like being able to engage with you guys. You guys have good feedback, good topics that I could bring up. So when it comes to these types of videos and covering these specific topics, it's a great way for 30 minutes to an hour, couple times a week for us to get together as a community. The people that follow us and people that will follow us, new followers and whatnot, just to have a good time talking reptiles, the future of the hobby, but on specific topics such as the fluorescence or glow in the dark state of reptiles. So pretty cool. Now we know, I think they said there was like 6 known species between African and the Arabian desert species that glow in the dark. What other species will we uncover? I think there's a lot that we have not uncovered as a civilization, as a human species. There's a lot about nature that we have not uncovered. I think, what is the statistics on this? Oh, wait, let's show that on stream real quick. Here we go. What are the statistics of how much of the ocean species have we discovered? And the number is astronomically low. Is it true 5% of the ocean has been explored? We have only explored 5%. That means 95% of our own ocean is unknown. I think we know more about the moon than we do about our own ocean. So very interesting stuff. But I am getting a little hungry, so I'm going to go grab some dinner right now, get some more gecko work done. If you have not seen, we added a bunch of geckos to our website, geekygeckocreations.com. We have a bunch of Black Knights on there, and you could still buy geckos with shop pay. So if you didn't see our video on the ranking system, or the tier system that we now have for Black Knights and how we grade them, it is definitely worth checking out that video so you can understand how A tier, B tier, C tier Black Knights go. And of course, with Shop Pay, you could pay interest-free $81 a month, and you could get this gecko today. So, Mr. Wizard, we'll have a good one for This Was Fun. Very cool. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone who participated in this stream. I will see you in the next topic. I do have another topic in mind, and maybe I will do these streams every couple of days or so. So thank you guys very much. Have a Geeky Gecko great night wherever you might be. And until next time, my friends, stay safe, feed your reptile passion, and I'll see you in the next video. All right? Peace.